So you've installed Runchat for Rhino using the package manager. Let's see what it can do. Type Runchat in the command bar, hit enter, and a panel will open. I've docked my panel on the right side of the screen. And even if you're signed in a browser, you will need to sign in separately in the Runchat Rhino plugin. The Runchat window will open and we can create a new workflow to open the editor. You'll notice that when I create a new workflow, the example grid shows me a number of Rhino specific examples. And these are great resources to go through, especially to see how scripting works inside of Rhino and how to build custom scripts. So this is the full Runchat editor running inside Rhino. You can sign in, open a workflow, build a new one. Everything you do in the web, you can do here. But the reason you're running it inside Rhino is how it can interact with Rhino. It's connected directly to your Rhino document, so it can pull things out and it can push things back in. Let me show you how. On the left side of the editor, there's an action bar. You'll see it denoted. It says Rhino at the top, and you'll see there's a number of tools below. The first tool is the screenshot button. So here's a project that I've got open in Rhino. I'm going to frame a view and I can use the screenshot button to bring the viewport directly into Runchat so I can work from the screenshot. So this is really great for doing things like making realistic images from your viewport. The idea here is that it's incredibly easy to just grab your screenshot, get it into Runchat and start working with it. Runchat could be used to generate 3D models. So depending on the type of node you've got selected, you might see that the export button becomes active. If it's deselected, you can't really do anything, and it asks you to select a GLB or an SVG. If we select this 3D output, you can see that we have the option to export this into Rhino. So if we click this, it will download that textured model into Rhino. And so you can start to get a sense of how easy it is to create assets, bring them into your Rhino seed, use that to then feed back into a render pipeline. There's plenty of incredible use cases like this going between Runchat and Rhino. So it works in the other direction too. For line geometry, it's possible to import that into Runchat as an SVG. If you select some curves and press import objects as SVG, you'll bring that geometry into. So now this geometry is in Runchat as an SVG. You could iterate on this SVG with the code node or add it to an interactive website, and you can do all sorts of different things with this type of geometry in Runchat. So if we made an illustration out of this input image, we have a image that would be useful as vector geometry. However, it's currently an image, so we can convert it to an SVG using vectorize. This will convert all of this illustration to a vector. So now we have the vector image, and when we have this selected, you'll see that we can export this SVG to Rhino. So I've exported this to Rhino, and you can see that now we have that geometry in Rhino. It keeps its colors. You can see how this would be useful for things like floor plans if you wanted to produce variations with Gemini 3 Pro and vectorize them and bring them into Rhino as starting points for geometry. Final thing is that you can generate code and run it in Rhino. So we'll do a really basic example. So we can ask the chat agent to generate some code for us. So the agent has generated a code node with a few different inputs for generating a voxel grid. If we select this node, we can run it in Rhino. And you can see that it's created this grid of cubes for us based off this script. In order to make it easier to manage your Rhino script, we have a built-in script manager. If you run the Rhino script command, you'll see Rhino script. Usually I tuck this in alongside Runchat, so I can select Runchat script, and then I can see all of my previous scripts that I've made. It's easy to open one, to grab that script, and then to rerun it. Each time you iterate on your code, you'll be able to manage previous versions and see them all inside of the Runchat script window. So Runchat also has some Grasshopper components, which I'll cover in the next vid. And that's the Runchat plugin for Rhino. The Runchat command opens the editor inside Rhino. The action bar here connects your viewport and your geometry to your workflows. And the script browser catches every script your workflow generates so you can run them later. Everything you already know about building workflows applies. The plugin just connects them to the model that you're working on.